Champions are not born, they are forged, tempered and shaped by the fires of competition. Each year, the nation's best amateur racers enter the flames of the Sports Car Club of America Runoffs, a single, winner-take-all event. This year, the Runoffs returns to Road America, one of the world's greatest and most challenging tracks. Over 500 drivers will take the green in the 48th annual Runoffs. Only 28 will emerge as national champions. The SCCA Runoffs, next on Speedcast TV. It is time for the Formula Continental National Championship at Road America. For the third consecutive year, SCCA's National Championship Runoffs are being held here at Road America. This is the 48th running of this legendary Olympics of amateur motorsport, and it is the third consecutive year it is being brought to you on SpeedcastTV.com. This year brought to you in HD by VW. Great to have you with us. I'm Greg Kramer, joined once again by Chip Herr. And Chip, obviously, most of your racing experience has been in sedans of various sorts, but you're going to be coming out here and giving us a call with some very quick machinery in the Formula category, and sort of an interim class, if you will, that you can run here in SCCA, Formula Continental. The big thing here is they're quick.
Yeah, they are. With the single seat, open cockpit, and the tires they run on these cars, there's a lot of mid-corner grip. The aero is huge. I don't know about a top speed being as, really high. I think but going into turn one, if I told you turn one's fast, it's really fast in this car.
Yeah, virtually no lift kind of quick.
Wow.
It's impressive stuff. Numbers we've heard about 140 miles an hour top end, so pretty quick. And the cornering speed, as you said, is just phenomenal. And it's an interesting design on the rear tires in particular. They run a cantilevered edge, so the rim is one size, but the tire's designed with this great big thing to get a little bit more contact patch out there, and some aero with these wings. It's an interesting. It's a class that you see a lot of people on their way up that want to go to Atlantics, go to IndyCar, go to whatever. This is a stop that they often make because it's such a great training ground.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like a feeder series. People would know that there's a next step.
Yeah.
They can win and step up the next group, and everybody's looking forward to that IndyCar, or Formula One, the dream paid full ride. But it starts here. You can't. An IndyCar team's not going to hire a spec Miata driver. Simple as that.
Yeah, you got to have some open wheel.
You got to
have
open wheel experience.
Yeah. And Continentals or F2000 as it's referred to, Super Fords they call it in Europe, all very, very similar indeed, and all very quick and some very fast drivers, certainly. And we're seeing some interesting aero configurations on these cars, and I know John Bizignano will be talking to us in just a minute. And we talked there's a very different wing lineup on a couple of the cars up front versus Nicky Coelho, who's had 4 championships in this category, somebody you know well from those Spec Miata days. A couple of different thoughts on the rear wing aerodynamics on these machines, Biz. And again, hey, variety, it's the spice, isn't it?
Well, it is the spice, and these are where the young lions come from in this particular class. In fact, there's a professional class called USF 2000, which is virtually identical to SCCA's Formula C. One of the things that is different about the two classes is this air box here. What this air box does, it restricts the amount of air that can go into the engine, therefore lowering the horsepower and making it a little bit more economical to run. The lower the horsepower, the more stress you put on it. But these cars have fully adjustable suspension. A driver here has to work with adjusting the shocks, setting up the car perfectly, doing the sway bars for each particular track, changing gear ratios, and also it teaches them about aerodynamics. Both the rear wing and the front wing are totally adjustable. This is where an up-and-coming driver can learn the skills to move up into the pro ranks.
Absolutely, Biz, and that it's a great class. It is very, very entertaining. And you saw that was Brian Tomasi's car, and Brian is a defending champion, a 2-time gold medalist in this category out of nearby Elgin, Illinois, runs out of Central Division, which Road America is a track, so certainly knows his way around this racetrack. And you saw the rear wing configuration he's got. He's qualified second. He's got what you would call the standard Formula Continental rear wing, where you've got the lower plane and the upper element, but there's a fair amount of space between the two, so you get that one element right up in the air, and the other one you pick the air coming up off the lower part of the car. Now here's your pole sitter, Revere Greist, in the number 56 Waypoint Health Innovation, Arms Up Van Diemen. A very, very similar car, but now take a look at the rear wing on this machine. and you'll see that upper element has been dropped down to within just a few inches, just enough room for the supports to be able to get through, and they flattened that right out. And Chip, the whole idea there at Road America, drag kills you on these long straights. And a lot of people say you'll deal with the car being a little loose, even in the kink, to be able to get down the straights quicker, but it also affects braking, the whole thing. It's an interesting dynamic we're seeing, isn't it?
Yeah, which just goes back to, its acceleration and, having horsepower is one thing, but having brakes and having a car that finishes at the end. If these guys have a wing that has all top speed and not as really good as their braking's not as deep, or they can't go as deep, then pretty much they might have a car that if they're sliding around, Nicky might just be able to. He's smooth. I raced against him in Spec Miata, the championship for Pro Miata. Really smooth driver. He's going to be there in the end. Yeah. So if he's not sliding his car around and his tires are dialed in with 5 laps to go, he might be able to pick them off one at a time. And
Coelho, who he's talking about, qualified in 4th. He's running that normal with the higher upper element sitting up in the airstream a little bit more. Again, creates a little bit more drag, but a little bit more stability. The fact of the matter is these cars don't have a lot of horsepower. As a result, some of the guys clearly are thinking, well, we'll trade off some of that grip to get a little bit better straight line speed and hopefully be able to gap the guy with that better braking, that more downforce. Just get him too far back on the straight where he can really do anything with it. It makes for an interesting balance. We've seen that played out in other classes here as well. I remember years ago in the Pro Atlantic Series, Patrick Carpentier showed up and didn't even have an upper element on his Atlantic car. He just had the one lower one, and man, it was like watching a sprint car going through the carousel in the sprint and the kink. But down the straights, it was a rocket ship. So it's all about what's going to work for you. I will tell you this, and I mentioned this, I was out in the corners earlier in the week, and Revere Greist, particularly in Turn 8 when I was out there, what fun to watch. Carrying speed through that corner, but the minute he turned in, that thing would start to rotate. He just started feeding it power, never missed a beat, and it worked out for him because he put it on pole and had a nice lap, too, a 2-minute 10.989 second lap. The note here is that that's faster than the existing Runoffs qualifying record, so it's a new pole record.
That's fast.
That's hooked. Anytime you're getting down to 2 minutes around 4 miles, you're booking.
Yeah, it definitely is. I've planned a Forza Motorsports game, and the 204. that's like I think a S700 car. So that's pretty fast.
Very, very quick.
A lot more horsepower than these. I think we read about 120 horsepower. I think I saw.
Yep, not much weight. Not a lot of power, but not a lot of weight. About 150 horsepower, and horsepower to weight is everything in race cars. That's right. the old formula, and so you can have a pretty impressive car that doesn't have a lot of power if it's not heavy, and that is exactly what this class is all about. They are setting out on the pace lap. So let's get you through that starting lineup. We've already talked about a couple of the cars and where they've qualified, but we'll run through it officially here. The pole sitter, number 56, Revere Greist out of Madison, Wisconsin. The Waypoint Health Innovation Arms Up Van Diemen. He was second here last year after qualifying third. Then the defending champion, number 96, qualifies outside of that front row, that black Van Diemen with the green trim. Brian Tomasi out of Elgin, Illinois. Two-time gold medalist in this category, the AlligatorBoard.com Hoosier Van Diemen. Qualifying third, number 30, Gerald Zikulski out of Edina, Minnesota. He's a Land O'Lakes region driver, the Rotary Systems Van Diemen. He, too, is running that Revere Greist low top element on the wing. Then the man that we've been chatting with Chip about, Nicky Coelho, the PortFoundations.com, Ralph Furman cars. He's running the one of two Ralph Furman RFR chassis in this class here, and he was on pole last year, ended up third in that machine, but he's a 4-time gold medalist in this category and truly one of the stars of Formula Continental over the years. Qualified in the 5th spot, number 17, John LaRue out of Muncie, Indiana, in the Goodyear Hyper Company Citation. His is the only citation in the field, and John won gold in Formula Ford in 1997 at Mid-Ohio. Then in the 6th spot, number 74, is Bill Johnson out of Austin, Texas, the Athena Manufacturing Van Diemen. Qualified in the 7th spot is the 05 of Peter Lesueur out of St. Charles, Illinois, the Hoosier Tire OSQ Van Diemen. Qualified 8th, number 40, Rick Balsley out of Naples, Florida, the Arms Up Motorsports Van Diemen. Qualified in the 9th spot, inside of row 5, 03, Tim Walsh out of Minneapolis, Land O'Lakes region is his home region, the Afterburner Race Car Parts Van Diemen. and qualified outside of that 5th row. 10th is number 9, J.R. Smart out of Fitchburg, Wisconsin. The Milwaukee region is his home in the Smart Motors Hurricane Hannah Van Diemen. J.R. does has done a lot of Pro Atlantic racing over the years as well. So, but he always has loved the Formula Continental category. Starting 11th will be number 45, Chuck Moran out of Oakton, Virginia. In the Van Diemen, qualified 12th, number 77 is Jim Victor out of Davenport, Iowa. In the Smith, Barney, and Arms Up, Furman, another one of those Ralph Furman racing chassis. 13th, number 91, John McMurray out of St. Louis, Missouri. In the Cahill Motorsports, Van Diemen qualified 14th, number 11, Mike Hummel out of Round Hill, Virginia. In the Washington, D.C. region is his home region. That's the H2 Company's Van Diemen. And rounding out the field in 1502, John Norton out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The Millennium Technologies Ballistic, and he's driving a Magali, another chassis that runs in the Formula Continental. It's a very popular chassis in the European Pro Super Ford Championships, and does a fairly good job here. He missed the first 3 qualifying sessions and was a bit off the pace in that 4th one at a 2:24.1. But obviously didn't have a lot of track time in sorting this chassis out and the like. So there you go. If you have a look at it. By the way, the number 30 is also a blue Van Diemen that fairly similar in color without some of the trim work of Revere Greist, and you can see the different wings. And a couple of the cars are running an interim step as well. They've got that element on the car. It's not down as low as it is on the back of Greist and Siskulski's, but it's not as high as the standard one, so they're kind of like betting on an interim setup.
I did see that.
To see how that's going to unfold. So some interesting things that we're seeing play out here. Again, this is going to be 13 laps or 40-minute timed. Should easily get the 13 laps in, barring any unforeseen long cautions or the like, and it should be a great race. The interesting study here is going to be, at the end of the race, as we've talked about, does going with that low element rear wing, does it use up too much tire on the car, having the car move around, and do the guys running the standard setup at the end have a little bit better tire underneath them, or is it just about raw speed and those guys with that low element are going to be able to drive off into the distance and then I'll be able to save things at the end and keep people behind them? We're about to find out as the lights are out on the Corvette pace car here at Road America. What a great place to decide national championships, a track loaded with a variety of different types of challenges. You can see Revere, that blue car with that orange striping down the side, alongside double champion Brian Tomasi, the black machine with the green striping in this great field. Tucked in behind the pace car, Chip, we're just about ready to get after it. Pace car is in, and this field starting to gear it up. The long climb.
Nicky's laying way back.
Boy, he sure is, isn't he? Giving himself a little bit of room
to get up there.
Watch it now, looking for it. Checker. The green is out.
No.
The green is out, and Revere timed that perfectly. Actually opened it up just a little bit, and there goes Tomasi. Boy, I'll tell you what, Siskulski, he and Revere must have talked at the start, because he had it absolutely figured out, tucked in behind, and left nothing that Tomasi could do but to slot into third. And that is exactly what he did. And Coelho dropped the spot on the start behind John LaRue in that citation.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Nicky was doing there, laying back, and then basically the 2 cars on the right, Nicky and the gentleman in front of him, just both, I'm not sure what happened there.
Well, maybe they threw the green a little sooner than Nicky expected, and as a result was not on the throttle and was well back of that group, and just kind of got caught out. We'll have to see, but nonetheless, here we go. Greist in front of Siskulski. Then Tomasi. Here comes Nicky Coelho down the inside of John LaRue. So Coelho not wasting any time, trying to move back up and get into this group. And up we go into turn 6. Left-hander after that uphill crown of the rise braking zone. Now the quick right-hander through turn 7. And now here we go. Turn 8 leading into the 2 fast corners that are going to tell the tale. And there you get a good look at that difference in those rear wing elements. And now we're going to see the effect of those.
You got 2 of the low wings up front, and 3rd and 4th. Nicky seemed like he's rolling in there. Got a nice pass on, was that LaRue?
Yep.
Made a pass on, and now he's trying to catch up the front group. And I think we're not going to really see the wing situation until towards the middle of the end of the race. Right now, these guys just getting some tire temperatures and finding out who's doing what and who's being aggressive.
Here we go, down into Canada corner, turn 12. Greist, Siskulski. Then that little bit of a gap, not much one, to Tomasi. And look at Coelho trying to get by Tomasi. He's going to have the outside, though, at 13, and we'll see who wins that battle. And it was Tomasi was able to deal with it and keep him after it. You can see how you can tell the two chassis. Tomasi running a Van Diemen, and somebody off big into the gravel here at turn 14. Let the dust clear, try and pick that number up. That's the 03 of Tim Walsh out of Minneapolis, the Afterburner Race Car Parts Van Diemen, and he's well and buried. And boy, take a look at the margin down that straight that these guys with that low wing, though, able to open it up in a hurry. But I was going to say with the Coelho's Furman chassis, it's just got a little bit boxier look to the nose on it than the Van Diemen does. And Greist and Siskulski right now. And you know what? They have been running in lockstep virtually every session that I was able to watch them as the week unfolded. Clearly, they have been working, trying to understand these cars in traffic, running as traffic for each other, what it's going to do to airflow, what it's going to do to how the car handles when you're tucked in behind somebody. It's been fun watching them really figure out how can we drive these cars when we're alone and when we're running with somebody.
That's good. That's using your time wisely while you're here. These guys have been here for a week, and that means they, played their cards right, and they're basically made sure that their cars were going to last. And that's one thing I talked about earlier, was saying, these cars, people need to go out and test their brakes and their tires and do a 40-minute stint and say, what do we have? I know what we have for qualifying, but what are we going to have at the end? What kind of times can we turn, and what kind of reliability do we have? Because it's one race. It's one championship race right here.
Yep. All the marbles in one throw, absolutely. And Siskulski, by the way, this is his third start. He's got a top 5, but it was back in 02 at Mid-Ohio in Continental, and he did have the fast lap in that race. And for this guy, Revere Greist, he's won every medal except the gold. He's got a second and a third, and he was second here last year. So obviously he'd like to get to the top step of the box. That would be nice. And right now, boy, he and Siskulski doing a great job and are gapping Tomasi and Coelho sitting in third and fourth. John LaRue still sits back in that fifth spot. Then Lesueur, then J.R. Smart in seventh. Bill Johnson in eighth. Balsley in ninth. And Victor is up now into the 10th spot. So good runs there. But out of, and we have, looks like we may have a little bit of a fire there, and that's why we've got the wheel and safety truck there on hand. And it's a black nose to the car, but we really can't see the number at this point. So we're not sure who that is. We also had that issue over in, reports are that might, let's see here. We're going to wait and watch as they come by, and it is Nicky Coelho, as he is not coming by start-finish. So that was Coelho. So we had the one car off in the gravel at 14, and then another problem for Coelho at this point. So now Tomasi third, but LaRue fourth, and Lesueur up into the fifth spot, as Greist and Siskulski has opened up a margin over Tomasi of about 1.5 seconds at this point.
Yeah, I wonder what happened. I didn't see what happened there.
Yeah, don't know. And there's Nicky. He's out of the car, and obviously, as you've talked about, you've done a lot of racing against Nicky. You know him well, and you know what caliber of driver he is. And, boy, this has got to be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, he definitely between his talent level, he's a very smooth driver, and he understands that to have a car at the end, and we had a lot of clean racing together. We haven't raced together for a few years, but that was way back, and I'm sure he jumped into open wheel, probably expecting, like we talked, maybe a ladder program idea, but I thought he'd definitely be a contender for a championship, to win the championship.
Oh, without a doubt. It always boggled me, I have to admit it, watching what he did in Fords and then in Continentals when he ripped off in, I think, 5 years he won 4 titles, that nobody came along and gave him a shot.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, the guy is pretty special, at least, see what he can do, and he just never got that opportunity. And to his credit, he said, I'm going to keep racing. I love it too much, and he just kept coming back and running the Continentals and do what he can. He also runs Formula B, those basically, you can take a Continental chassis and you drop a 1,000cc 1-liter bike engine in the back, and they are wicked quick, and he runs that on occasion, too, in another Ralph Furman chassis. So he keeps racing, but it's a shame. I've always thought the guy deserved that shot, and he just never has been able to get it. A look there at the number 45 and Chuck Moran running in the 8th spot right now. Chuck comes out of Oakton, Virginia, and he was the champion in the Southeastern Division this year, finished second in the national points title, so pretty remarkable season he's already been able to put together. 8 starts this year, 3 of them wins, 6 top 5s. And this is his 13th start in the runoff for Chuck Moran. And looking at maybe another top 10 finish. So good run for him as he comes by the stripe, heading down into turn 1 as we have completed 3 of 13 laps. Oh, and look at Siskulski has gone around Revere and picked up the point. That has Geist right now sits in second, but look at Tomasi. He is all over the back of Revere at this point as they come out of 3 under the Sargento Bridge and start the run down into turn 5. So Siskulski out front, then Geist, and here he comes, Tomasi, and he's run him down. Remember, he was a second and a half back just a couple of laps ago, and he's been able to run these guys down, and it wasn't traffic.
It doesn't take much when they guys start racing side by side and not in a draft anymore. And you can see Tomasi run right back on the back bumper of the Christ.
Yep, obviously, and as you pointed out, obviously when Siskulski made the pass, those guys were no longer running in lockstep. And either that happened with Siskulski just said, I'm quicker, I want to get by, or maybe Revere had a little bit of a moment, and that's what let Siskulski by and slowed them both up in the process. But Tomasi now, as they wind through the carousel heading toward the kink, and this is where that lack of grip makes it real interesting through the kink, and that extra high element on the back of Tomasi's car gives him that little bit of more stability through that part of the track. But, as I said, also does rob you of a little bit of straight line speed down into Canada. And at this point, just good, solid driving by everybody. Nobody looking particularly twitchy. Nobody looking particularly quicker than anybody else at this point. And but as we talked about, a lot of racing to go.
Yeah, it seems like Tomasi really has a car with straight line speed. It's really hooked up in the corners. You can see right there. But we'll tell he's within a car length. We'll see what he has here in front of us in the front straight. And but of course he's in the draft.
And here he comes. He's going to use it. But there you see it, don't you?
Yeah. As soon as he pulled out, and now I can see it sucking right back in. He pulled out twice.
Well, I mean, the first time you could see him just hit the wall. Now he pulls out in the braking zone, and we talked about if you don't have quite the level of aero downforce on the car going in, you have to brake sooner. And that second time he did it, and that was a smart move, wasn't it? He pulled out so he didn't lose the momentum, and as he hit the wall, he tucked. Whoa!
And the leader went.
Siskulski running way wide, coming out of 3, and that hurt. He's lost some momentum, and right there goes Tomasi. And I would think Revere is going to slide right past as well, indeed. Now, though, Siskulski gets that momentum built back up, but then he's got to get on the brakes. And there goes Tomasi and Grice. Slot through, 1, 2, and Siskulski just that quick back into third.
This ain't over.
Oh, not even close.
Not even close.
This is going to be fun. But as I was saying, having that, when you hit the wall with that extra drag on the straight to tuck back in and then just use that momentum to swing back out. Tomasi, pretty savvy pilot, no question about it. Played that. It looked to me almost perfect.
Yeah, he basically he had a run, he pulled out, and then he hit dead air and slowed him down. So, got to find out where he can get that speed again. And obviously, he knew he could outbrake him with the downforce that he has on his car.
As I said, 2-time gold medalist in 2004 and in 2010 last year, the defending. This is his 9th runoff. He also has a 2nd and a 3rd, 4 medals total. He's got a pole and a couple of fast laps in his runoffs career. Always right there in terms of being one of the players. Boy, I'll tell you what, Siskulski has suddenly dropped off just a little bit. And wonder, sometimes you have that, even though he didn't spin or anything, you run wide like that, and you get that big sudden torque on the car, and it can mess your rhythm up, can't it?
No, it can mess up your alignment. It can make a tire out of balance. Or just maybe he's just unfocused. Maybe he thought he had it in the bag, and then he got wide, and now he's thinking, oh my gosh, how hard it is to catch those 2 leaders now. I mean, it's got a lot of racing left to go here yet.
That's true. Obviously, it could have created a little mechanical problem. And look at Grice, though. Once he gets that toe, here he comes. This is what you were talking about, Chip, that it's not over.
You can't outbrake him.
That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
a good balance.
All downforce. That's what that's all about. That's very interesting. But so much of racing is a mental game. And, we talk about rhythm sometimes. You just lose the rhythm on occasion. But sometimes, if your confidence is broken a little bit, you just don't run in as deep. Grab the throttle as early. You don't carry as much mid-corner speed, and that's when you could just be gobbled up by the competitor.
Yeah, you definitely have to be on point. I mean, with racing, the amount of late braking and acceleration and being right on the edge every given second, you got to be on point. If you're off a little bit, I mean, it could be a tenth a lap or a tenth per corner. That adds up to second a lap.
Absolutely.
And you can sometimes need to step out of the car and, have a team owner grab you and say, "Are you all right? You need to get your head, we're here to race." So, it's going back to, racing is important to just keep your head focused and know what you have for the rest of the race. And, there's a lot of guys starting to run wide, and it seems like maybe they're overdriving. Maybe the first couple laps everybody's pushing too hard, and they're not sliding, but it looks like they're just driving off in the exits.
Well, that could very well be. We're watching Peter Lesueur in the 05, and remember, he was up a lot closer to the front end of this thing, and he has slipped down the order a little bit, and we're getting reports now it was a spin that Lesueur looped it in the 05. He is, again, out of St. Charles, Illinois. That's the OSQ Hoosier Tire Van Diemen, who had qualified up in the 7 spot, now down 11. So he's got some work to do once again to haul himself back up into some sort of contention here. And, of course, now everybody that was right behind him, J.R. Smart, Rick Balsley, Chuck Moran, have all moved up a notch, with Moran now in that 7 spot, Johnson up to 8th, Jim Victor 9th, and Michael Hummel sits now in the 10th spot at this point. Victor, by the way, the other guy running the Furman chassis that is similar to the one that Coelho was running. So Victor now has a Ralph Furman chassis up into the top 10 at this point. There is third, Gerald Skozilski. The question is, can he do anything to run down the two guys duking it out for the gold right now, leader Brian Tomasi and Revere Grice sitting in second. Lots of Formula Continental yet to come here at Road America. This portion of the 48th Annual SCCA National Championship Runoffs is being brought to you by Mazda, Zoom Zoom, by Black Magic Car Care Products, and by Gumout, cleaning since 1945.
What do you drive? Is it inspiring? Was it built by a behemoth car maker? Or insightful craftsmen obsessing over the details, building better cars for a discerning few? Are you one of the few who care about what you drive and how it drives? We're with you because we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner helps restore lost horsepower and fuel economy. Just pour an entire bottle of Gumout Regain into your tank before your next fill-up. Powerful cleaning additives attach themselves to fuel system carbon deposits and safely and effectively lift them away. That way, deposits burn up, then pass through the exhaust. Gumout Regain additives even leave a protective barrier to help keep new deposits from forming for up to 3,000 miles. Get a bottle of Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner today for reduced engine hesitation, surging and knocking, as well as restored fuel economy and lost horsepower, all within one fill-up.
Okay, it's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You treat the freeway on-ramp like your own personal racetrack, and you love the smell of burning rubber. Well, good news, Speed Junkie. The Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and 2,000 events across the country, the SCCA has all the wheel-spinning, engine-revving excitement you can handle. Want to dance on the edge of control? In SCCA Solo, you'll learn the blacktop two-step with an army of cones trying to trip you up. If slinging mud is your thing, check out SCCA Rallycross, where power slides and rooster tails are the name of the game. And if wheel-to-wheel competition is what you crave, SCCA Club Racing lets you chase the checkered flag on America's toughest racetracks. Join the Sports Car Club of America today and feed your obsession.
Well, Chip said this one's far from over, and he is right. Revere Grice has gone back around Brian Tomasi and is your new race leader as they are starting to come up on some traffic. Tomasi in the middle of Grice and Siskulski, as Siskulski has ran these two guys back down as well. So it's interesting, and there's another great piece of heads-up driving by one of the lap cars. Saw the blue flag from the corner worker, knew it was the leaders coming up on him, and just got out of the way and let these guys slice through as they are now making their way down through turn 7 into turn 8, another good braking zone right here. And we are now working lap 8 of 13, so still 5 laps at 4 miles a lap. We got 20 miles of racing yet to go here in the chase for the Formula Continental National Championship at SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. And Grice doing a nice job, just laid back and now back to the front. And we're seeing this great study and different approaches to the aerodynamics on these machines. And at least at this point, looks pretty even.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? With the amount of laps that are left here, you really got to start thinking as a driver, what's my plan? Where do I want to be on that last lap? You know, with the aerodynamics on Tomasi's car, he knows that they can draft him and come out of the last corner and maybe use his aero, which makes a pocket, and maybe beat him at the line. So does he want to be second? But, you know, if you're third, you know, that's too much of an area to pass and try to get a draft. So it's tough. I mean, I think they're just going to race hard and stay clean and keep the car on them. And hopefully, Rivera, he's definitely got a great package. He knows what he's doing. He's got back to third, to second, and now he's back in the lead. So you can see right here he's starting to gap on Tomasi. And but you watch the braking zone. And so it's going to be interesting how it plays out next lap or two, because the last lap, we've seen it today. Anything can happen that last lap, last corner.
The interesting thing to me is that the only time that Tomasi's going to be able to take a run at either of these two other cars down the straight is he's got to be exiting the turn close enough that he's so far into their draft that it negates that aero advantage that they have. If he's at all back of them, they're just going to drive away from him. So he's got to be, to me, ultra aggressive in the braking zone, mid-corner, using all of that aero to be close.
He needs to be just close enough because he basically has to be back far enough that he can suck it on the draft and then let him pick up speed coming towards the car and then pull out. Like you said, if it's too close.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Like last time he pulled out and then he had nothing.
He hit the wall.
Yeah,
exactly. That's John LaRue, former Formula Ford national champion, never been able to claim the gold here in the Formula Continental category, running a solid 4th at this point, but unfortunately he's about 5 seconds back of our leader, but he's got about 24 seconds in hand over J.R. Smart, who sits in the 5th spot right now, and LaRue is uncorking some pretty good laps at this stage of the game, and he's trimmed that margin just a little bit. Taking a look at the times, he turned a 2:12.6 on his last lap, and the others are running about that same range. So it evened out last time through, but LaRue, certainly a very capable pilot. He's running the Citation. He's the only Citation running in the class right now, which has a much more of a point nose to it. It's very recognizable compared to some of these other cars. We go back to this very compelling battle for the top 3 podium spots. It seems to me, unless there's a problem, it's going to come down to these 3 guys. But what is totally wide open right now is who ends up on what step on that podium.
That's correct, yep. We've already seen it once, twice, with the Formula Vs and the open wheel cars, and it's only going to get better when we have the SSB, SSC, and Spec Miata guys, because that's where they depend on the draft.
Absolutely. And here we go. We have just completed lap 9 of 13, and Siskulski looks...
He just can't outbrake him.
Yep.
He just can't go that deep.
Well, he gets that obviously a great run down the straight, but again, not quite as much aero downforce on the car, and just has to get to the brake a little bit sooner, and just can't quite get it done. Tucks right back in again. So this is the time of a race you wonder. Obviously, these guys, nobody's really doing anything aggressive at this point. You got to think at this point, it's all calculating. They're all thinking, all right, stay put, do this, be ready for that, set this up, think about it, when do I want to do it? This is all sponge time. You're just, at this point, you're soaking in every bit of information about how this race is unfolding to try and come up with a plan for those last couple laps.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I mean, Tomasi, I think, sitting there going, okay, I got a little bit of a gap on the 30 car, and it seems like he's like, everybody seems to be, nobody's really ducking out. It seems like they're just waiting for that second to third, 2 laps to go, maybe even 1 lap to go to make their move. Because usually you see them ducking out or using the draft. We're not really seeing that right now. And they got a gap on. I mean, the gap's huge for the rest of the field.
Right. Yeah, they've got it covered. There you see LaRue go through, so that was kind of a quick visual of the margin that these 3 guys have over LaRue running in the 4th spot. And the last thing you want to do at this stage of the race, by being aggressive when you really don't need to, is drop a tire, dirty up a tire, maybe break something on the car.
Oh, there's a move.
And Siskolski, again, like you said, Chip, very quick, gets through. Once he gets through the kink, then that low drag aero configuration allows him to run right up on Tomasi, but then they get to the brake zone, and Tomasi with more downforce can go a little bit deeper, and it negates it all. This is really an interesting comparison in the aerodynamics here, and trying to figure out exactly who's going to play their card first and what that card's going to be. Up and over the rise. Lap 10 in the books. 3 to go. And again, you see Siskolski just reeling him in. Now this time, maybe soon enough.
Oh, he had a big draft. Oh.
And this is a great study for people who don't really think about it too much. You think about downforce on the car. Oh, you get to the corner fast, all that. Braking.
Yeah.
The more you got pressure you've got on those tires from that downforce, the deeper you can brake without locking them up. And that makes them all the more effective, not just in the corner and at the exit of the corner, but the braking zones. And Tomasi is playing that beautifully right now. And he's got to be a little worried, because I would think the last thing he wants is Siskolski to get by him, team up with Greist, and then maybe be able to drive away on these straights.
Yeah, it's a good combination right now. Everybody's kind of on their own as far as, nobody can team up together.
Now, let's see. At this point, does Tomasi start to get a little bit more aggressive, try and hound Greist just a little bit to get him to maybe overdrive that car without the downforce on it, start to heat those tires up, chew those tires up a little bit? It's not just about speed, it's about keeping the car underneath you. That includes brakes at this track, certainly. We've talked about that a little bit. It's a brutal track on brakes, but also tire management. Tomasi now, to me, looks like he's up in the game a little bit.
Yeah.
This portion of the 48th Annual SCCA National Championship Runoffs is being brought to you by Mazda, Zoom Zoom, by Black Magic Car Care Products, and by Gumout, cleaning since 1945.
What do you drive? Is it inspiring? Was it built by a behemoth car maker? Or insightful craftsmen obsessing over the details, building better cars for a discerning few? Are you one of the few who care about what you drive and how it drives? We're with you, because we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner helps restore lost horsepower and fuel economy. Just pour an entire bottle of Gumout Regain into your tank before your next fill-up. Powerful cleaning additives attach themselves to fuel system carbon deposits and safely and effectively lift them away. That way, deposits burn up, then pass through the exhaust. Gumout Regain additives even leave a protective barrier to help keep new deposits from forming for up to 3,000 miles. Get a bottle of Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner today for reduced engine hesitation, surging and knocking, as well as restored fuel economy and lost horsepower, all within one fill-up.
Okay, it's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You treat the freeway on-ramp like your own personal racetrack, and you love the smell of burning rubber. Well, good news, Speed Junkie. The Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and 2,000 events across the country, the SCCA has all the wheel-spinning, engine-revving excitement you can handle. Want to dance on the edge of control? In SCCA Solo, you'll learn the blacktop two-step with an army of cones trying to trip you up. If slinging mud is your thing, check out SCCA Rallycross, where power slides and rooster tails are the name of the game. And if wheel-to-wheel competition is what you crave, SCCA Club Racing lets you chase the checkered flag on America's toughest racetracks. Join the Sports Car Club of America today and feed your obsession.
Welcome back, everybody. We had that little bit of a technical glitch, and we're sorry about that. But we are back, and in terms of that battle for the medals, no big change. It is still Revere Greist with Brian Tomasi second in that all-blue machine of Gerald Siskolski sitting in that third spot. They are coming up on traffic, however. And we certainly know the effect that can have. And it looks like Grice may have been balked just a little bit. Nothing that guy could do. It caught him at the middle of turn 13, and as the old saying goes, you can't just hit the disappear button. So Tomasi is close, but look at Siskulski. He got a huge run out of 14, and with that low downforce, he just drove by Tomasi like Tomasi was tied to a post. As the checkered flag comes out, it's Grice, Siskulski, and Tomasi. That was the last sequence of corners, and boy, Siskulski read that to perfection. But look at Revere, after having a strong run last year and having that tire go down, and Tomasi able to bring home the gold as Revere could only watch with the silver. He finally completes the cycle after getting a third and a second. Revere Grice is your Formula Continental national champion at Road America. What a compelling race, and you saw the big story. Even though we lost a lap and a half there, we didn't have any change of position. And the guy, I'll tell you, read that last corner to perfection in that traffic was Siskulski.
He did. With the lap traffic there, he had no, I mean, they tried to get out of the way, but they just couldn't. With a track out of the one turn, coming out of 13 and then going into 14, something's got to give, and he had a great run. He drove past Tomasi like his car shut off.
Yeah, I mean, it's traffic. That's one of those deals. It all comes down sometimes to when you catch it, what part of the track, and sometimes they can get out of the way. Sometimes they can get out of the way. Sometimes nothing. You just have to deal with it as it happens. And Siskulski read it to perfection. But it's Revere Grice who's going to bring home the medal. And there you see John LaRue just coming up on the back of Siskulski. He was fourth and had a very solid run. But unfortunately, obviously, I would think you're going to have a rather dejected Brian Tomasi, who had driven an awfully good race and just ended up losing that spot. I think going into those last couple of laps, Tomasi thought he had a pretty realistic shot at the medal, at the gold, and to end up third here. I think that might be a little bit of a bitter pill.
I think my money was on Tomasi. I think the second place car, I think he had with the aero and conserving tires, I think that he would have had a run, but this is the runoffs.
Exactly.
Just never know.
And and people find it here. That's one of the neat stories. I mean, you're going for a national championship, and every once in a while, somebody I'm not saying this about Revere or Siskulski, but it's happened where somebody who really hasn't had that kind of a year just finds it and puts on an absolute superb display here. And fortunately, all three of the guys on the podium here have had great seasons and showed why today with some spectacular racing. Of course, what if Nicky wouldn't have had his problems? How would that have played out? Would have he been in the mix? And so it's always got your woulda, coulda, shouldas per chance. But in the end here he comes, and Revere making his way down into the pits, followed by Siskulski and then LaRue, and I'm sure Tomasi is just kind of lapping around. Ruining what may have been as they head down, and of course looking at John Bizignano. We'll be talking to John in just a minute. But as I said, I've been watching out in the corners earlier in the week, watching this guy, Revere, and with that low wing configuration, just watching him pitch and catch that car, but do it under superb control. Very smooth, very controlled, beautiful slides, just utilizing that straight line speed when he had it and carrying the car in the corners when he needed to. He brought it in here and was able to put it on pole. And that says something right there. In some sketchy conditions on a couple of days, it was always fairly cool. That's when you obviously would like a little bit more downforce in the car to get the heat and the grip. And he was able to make it work. And look at that. You can see some of the competitors coming by, giving him a big thumbs up. He is well regarded, to be sure. And that's why Mr. Tomasi suddenly. Well, I wonder if that's why, if the car laid down coming out of 14.
Makes sense.
Because, boy, Siskulski went by, and like we said, like Tomasi was tied to that tow rope. And maybe that is exactly what happened. Wow, that's going to hurt even a little bit more.
No, he finished, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He finished, but I'm just saying, to know that close and maybe have it figured right to be able to make that launch and then have that sputter coming out of 14. Still brought it home. He had that. Thank goodness he had that margin over LaRue.
Yeah.
Who did, by the way, get fourth in Balsley. Boy, what a great drive by him. That last lap got around J.R. Smart and brought it home in the top five. But down with our medal contenders and our gold medalist is John Bizignano.
Revere, first of all, let's get this gold medal in here from Bonnie. My gosh, Congratulations on a gold medal, first place in a very competitive class, a beautiful drive. What's this about winning on a Friday? Your crew was joking with you about.
We have a running joke about Rebecca Black, who's the most important new artist to emerge in 2011. And we really don't like the song very much, so we always joke about racing on Friday and that sort of thing. So that's what it has to do with.
Hey, listen, buddy, when you went out, these adjustments right down over here were on full soft. Now they look like they're on medium. When did you switch those to make them right for you?
I switched them mid-race, and I actually tried a stiffer setup too, but I seemed to like medium the best. So I was trying to find the best configuration for the track conditions. It wasn't a great racetrack. Times were off quite a bit, and we were sliding around quite a bit, probably because of the colder temperatures, I would think. But this seemed to work reasonably well.
From the lead, and then you drop back a little bit. But did you know that you had the race in hand? Were you just comfortable there, or did you think, my gosh, these guys are going to get away?
I was pretty highly uncomfortable throughout the entire race. I mean, it was a real challenge. It was a great race. Brian did a fantastic job, as he always does. He's so clean and good to race with. And my new teammate Jerry also did a wonderful, wonderful job. This is his first race with arms up, or second race with arms up, and he's a great addition to have on the team.
Listen, great race, great show, and a lot of confidence on our Friday for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Thanks very much.
Okay, back to our second place man, who we can certainly congratulate on a silver medal, if he'll turn around and look at the camera for us. Terrific run, but you were sitting back there looking at those two guys. Yeah. You just couldn't get there.
I poked it in a few times and won, and just didn't have the track. Lost the clutch halfway through, but car was good. Car was there. I just had to.
Tell us about going into second place on these last few laps, though. That had to be a
traffic coming, and I knew it was going to play a part in the finish, and it's just a matter of who got what where, and it was that close.
Some smart driving.
Yeah,
congratulations on a brilliant silver medal and a fine drive. Listen, we have a report on our third place driver. Where's Brian? Oh, they pulled him up. The reason Brian isn't right with us is because he ran out of gas on the cool-off lap, and actually you could hear his car sputtering on the last lap, and they might be why they got by him on the last lap. You know, Colin Chapman just hated weight in cars. Every gallon of gas weighs 6 pounds, and sometimes they will measure these things just right down to the last ounce. Well, unfortunately, Brian just needed about another half gallon to be able to speed, hopefully to a second place or first place, but he still got third with just chugging along across the line. What do you think, guys?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the way that pass happened coming out of that last corner, it certainly looked like the car laid down on him a little bit, and that would explain it. And, here's another point. Rivera was talking about how the car handling wasn't quite what it had been, cooler temperatures. Obviously sometimes cooler temperatures means better downforce because the air is thicker as it's cooler, but the tires don't get the grip, so you're dealing with that. Those cooler temperatures, when you've got a stronger aero package, means a little more drag, means you burn a little bit more fuel. And, maybe that also played a role into what happened to Tomasi. All of the variables in motorsports, there's so much going on when you're dealing with anything mechanical, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, next time he comes back for the Runoffs next year, he'll have half a gallon more gas, more fuel. They're going to make notes down after this race.
Lesson hard learned. Let's get back down to biz with our bronze medalist.
Hey, listen, Tomasi, what a great run, leading this. Is it easier to lead or to follow there in that situation?
No, it's easier to follow. I get a better toe from those guys, and then I can see where I can pressure them on the last lap. When I knew it was the last lap, and I had a great run coming through 12 and 13, and I'm like, I can get him coming up the hill, and then it just broke. I mean, I had it in gear, and then I didn't know what was going on. I knew it was broke, and I'm trying to swerve, and I saw Jerry behind me. I'm trying to make sure I don't hit him and get out of the way, and still try to get a podium.
So you didn't actually run out of gas?
No, it was I thought it was the throttle cable's to the floor, and what it was is the butterflies on the fuel injector. One of them broke, and that was it.
If that would not have happened,
I think I would have won the race.
Next year, buddy. Okay, congratulations on the third place. Nice bronze medal. All right, guys, we're out of here from the pits.
And all of our speculation totally out the window.
Wow, okay.
It was a mechanical failure.
We'll make different notes.
That's right. Exactly. Oh boy, I'll tell you though, what an interesting race. Again, watching all of that difference in downforce play out and how it was going to unfold, and then hearing from Tomasi that had it not broke, he really thought he may have had a shot at it here as you take a look at the unofficial results on the way to the Formula Continental National Championship. Revere, just a superb run all weekend. I mean, obviously put it on pole and just drove a very heads-up race. Skolsky as his young teammate. Very impressive. Tomasi LaRue to 4th, Balsley to 5th, and Smart, Johnson, Moran, LeSueur, Mike Hummel completing your top 10 in the run to the national championship. Then Norton, Victor, and then Walsh had the off into the gravel at 14. They hauled him out, and he did get some laps in. John McMurray had a problem as well, and then, of course, Nicky Coelho with that fire that, again, seeing a great job by the Road America EV and Chicago region EV folks getting on scene immediately and helping Nicky get out of that car and get that situation resolved. So just a superb job and a great run by Revere Greist on his way to his first gold medal in Formula Continental at the National Championships.